From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, here we go into another action-packed day, another action-packed week, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, making sure you have all the information that you need to go into this day well-armed. All right, so here are three big things to start the day. Number one, the war in Iran remains on hold, but for how much longer, nobody's sure, as there's no clear picture on whether the bombing runs from the U.S. and Israel will continue, or we could see boots on the ground. Number two, President Trump stepped in with an executive order for TSA employees to get paid on Friday, short-circuiting the Democrats' reckless defunding of DHS. Nice to have somebody in charge, but others not getting paid. And number three, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the opposition to Donald Trump and conservative America is not near as organic as homegrown as they'd like you to think. In fact, it is manufactured and paid for almost every step of the way, and the only people it seems to attract are certifiable. You've seen these folks. These protests, the No Kings rallies, the anti-ICE protests, these are bought and paid for with the backing of more than 500 groups, with an estimated collective revenue of $3 billion annually. And today, we're going to take a deep dive into who's responsible for most of it. All right, meet Neville Roy Singham. He's an American-born tech executive, but he's decided to shack up with the Chinese Communist Party and live in Shanghai, whoring himself out to the highest bidder. He loves Marxism and Mao Zedong, the founder of the Chinese Communist Party, who was responsible for one of the worst famines, among other things, in human history. That led to the deaths of over 50 million people. Mao, according to some estimates, was responsible for 100 million Chinese deaths, the worst mass murderer in world history. Some hero. And that's who Singham looks up to. And he's put hundreds of millions of dollars into continuing Mao's ruthless, deadly communist vision. Singham has built a network of some 2,000 organizations. At least 200 of them are solely dedicated to producing anti-American propaganda. That's all they do. Since 2017, almost $600 million that we know of has been funneled into these organizations from Singham's pockets, with $400 million of that going directly to a central hub of 11 American nonprofits. That's right, we've got organizations right here in the United States claiming tax-exempt status while accepting millions of dollars in foreign influence to destroy your country. Three of the biggest are the People's Forum, the Justice and Education Fund, and the People's Support Foundation. Here's one of Singham's closest allies speaking at the People's Forum in New York, praising the Cuban Revolution. Listen to this.
This is the People's Forum, and I really hope you support this institution because I don't know if you can imagine a city like New York without it. So where would we hold this event? You know, who would allow us to have a discussion about the Cuban Revolution without attacking it? Yeah, I mean, you can talk about the Cuban Revolution, but you have to denounce it. In the People's Forum, you can celebrate it, as it should be celebrated. And we celebrate it. We celebrate it not because it, asks us to celebrate it, but we celebrate it because it broke a certain barrier in world history.
Oh, yeah. It broke the country, too, into little tiny pieces and poverty. That's Vijay Prashad. He serves as the executive director of Tricontinental Institute for Social Research, another Marxist think tank that Singham has heavily funded. And he's all over the world, including in New York City, apparently spreading his view of the West and communism. It's downright insidious. Here's more of what he thinks about the U.S. and your freedom. Listen.
No order led by the West. It's really no order. What you have is you have the order of, in a way, the mafia. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to bomb you. If South Korea doesn't give all its money to the United States, they're going to tariff the country and destroy the chaebols. If you, Venezuela, don't submit to U.S. power, we're going to come and put our warships right. That's not an order. That's the law of the mafia, the gangsters.
Yeah. Again, this is another guy whose key inspiration is a figure that was responsible for the deaths of tens of millions of people, thanks to forced collectivization, mismanagement, and repression, plus a lot of bullets. But sure, we're the gangsters. Organizations like Prashad's receive the bulk of their funding directly from Singham, which they then use to fund protests like the manufactured No Kings rallies. Adam Sohn has spent his career investigating networks just like these. And here's how he explained the problem to the House Ways and Means Committee. It's enlightening. Here it is.
If you look at Wall Street, if you have 1 million people on social media say, buy this stock now, that's legal. If you have a bot army that looks like 1 million people being run by one person that says, buy this stock now, that's illegal. It would be called painting the tape, I believe. So I just want to try to apply that now to what's happening with foreign influence. They're using these narratives, and it brings about authentic activity. So just like you'd have in the stock market, if you have a bot army that looks like 1 million people, it starts to get regular people engaged. Next thing you know, a stock's being pushed up or a stock's being pushed down. And it's a combination of inauthentic and authentic activity, but it's born out of designed inauthentic activity. And I think that's what you're seeing here.
Designed inauthentic activity. We've got a guy with an obsession for a deadly communist tyrant, puppeteering American politics. I've got a problem with that, and I hope you do too. His main goal is to demonize America, make China look like a communist liberating utopia. And he's propping up a vast network that's doing precisely that and paying it forward. Millions of dollars have been sent to CCP entities from these nonprofits that he funds. When the nonprofits rake in donation after donation from white liberal women, they send it back to the communist homeland, essentially. Here's some of what Singham's money is accomplishing. Remember this? Watch.
Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free
That's Olivia DeNucci. She's a Code Pink professional activist, and Code Pink founded by Singham's wife, Jody Evans. Code Pink also operates all over the U.S., empowering deranged white liberal women to go nuts over everything Donald Trump does. Every single thing. Olivia DeNucci was also a part of the latest facade in Cuba. Here it is.
Una alegría inmensa. La solidaridad no se bloquea. Trump piensa que puede todo, pero los pueblos son mucho más fuertes.
In dire need of fuel, Cuba is currently enduring one of the most difficult periods in its recent history, while the U.S. government seeks to suffocate its people through new sanctions and an oil embargo that prevents the importation of fuel. For the organizers of this international convoy, the objective is to reciprocate the solidarity that Cuba has shown the world.
Whenever empires believe that they can colonize lands, that they can dominate people, the people of the world are willing to rise up and say that this will not happen. We will not allow Cuba, because of the amazing strength and resilience of the Cuban people for over 6 decades, they've been resisting. Otherwise, they would be occupied as well.
All right. The real kicker, Code Pink activists who visited Cuba stayed in luxury 5-star hotels. They were running on private generators, even as the island endured yet another nationwide blackout after another after another. They dined on fine food and luxurious accommodations. Typical liberal liars. I'll have more as we continue this deep dive. After this, welcome to Monday on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, here's the thing. Cuba has seen one of the worst states of decline in the last several decades thanks to communism. But these activists want to cheer and chant for those same devastating policies while avoiding all the grisly consequences that those policies have caused. The network that recorded a broadcast, Breakthrough News, another one of Singham's recipients, this broadcast right here. Breakthrough News is responsible for incredibly anti-American biased coverage like the Cuba segment and for glorifying protests like this one where more Code Pink activists don burqas and hijabs to show their support for the terrorist Islamic regime in Iran. Foreign dollars are influencing the most impressionable of American minds, and it's a threat that's not getting nearly enough attention. Representative Jason Smith, who serves as the GOP chair for the House Ways and Means Committee, has had his eye on the People's Forum and Singham's money for a long time now. Has him just as concerned as I am. Here he is.
Many of these tax-exempt groups also have documented ties to hostile foreign governments, like the Chinese Communist Party. It's no wonder that the People's Forum echoes Communist Party propaganda. One of their largest donors is a wealthy former U.S. tech executive living in Shanghai who is cozy, extremely cozy with the Chinese Communist Party.
5 foreign charities spent almost $2 billion bankrolling U.S. policy fights, litigation, research, lobbying, and protests.
Nonprofits were never intended to organize street violence, clash with police, shut down infrastructure, block hospitals and airports, or serve as proxies for foreign governments.
The CCP is taking advantage of our tax-exempt sector.
That's right.
To poison our dialogue and cause division in our political system.
That's exactly right. The Republicans over at the House Ways and Means Committee have been attempting to safeguard Americans from this kind of influence, but Smith says that Democrats have prevented any progress on the issue. Here it is.
This committee, on a bipartisan basis, approved multiple bills to address the attempt by multiple foreigners to influence our politics and election outcomes by funneling money through tax-exempt organizations. But when those same bills came to the House floor, our Democrat colleagues ended up opposing them. They sided with special interest and foreign billionaires and abandoned this bipartisan cause.
Yeah.
Similarly, today is...
Why are Democrats unwilling to do something as simple as strip tax-exempt status from organizations that are accepting foreign money with the express purpose of undermining your nation? Is it because they're not above doing the same? Governor Tim Walz has raised eyebrows once again with his comments that essentially pledge allegiance to Somalian Minnesotans, because that's a designation now, apparently. Something different than American, I guess. Listen to this nonsense.
And I will add a special thank you and a special acknowledgement that we will never leave the side of our Somali Minnesotans. Here's our pledge to you. Our Somali Minnesotans, your great-grandchildren will still be here when that orange clown is in the dustbin of history.
Yeah, okay.
You will be here.
Enough. Where will your grandchildren be? Tim Walz turned a blind eye toward billions of dollars stolen from taxpayers in his state, much of it at the hands of Somali immigrants. We all know that, but he's committed to their cause more than he is to the betterment of the United States, or showing even an ounce of respect for the sitting president of this country. It's attitudes like Walz's and the kind of narratives that he continues to perpetuate that are being pushed and paid for by globalist Marxists. And I wouldn't be shocked one bit to find that he's pocketed some of that money himself. And now you know that Neville Roy Singham is behind most of it. Here it is. All right, Singham, his buddy Prashad, and a bunch of the other elites spend their time cheering and singing the communist anthem, knowing that their dollars are fueling division, hatred, and the erosion of Western values. But if they were counting on skating by, unknown by the majority of the American public, those days are over. I'm calling on our elected officials to do something, to protect our interests, to refuse to let foreign money ruin us from within. It's time to stand up, identify these people. And now you are educated on Singham and these nonprofits and the billions of dollars flowing from Chinese Communist Party coffers to fuel things like the No Kings rallies. And that's the monologue. Did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity, and cyber criminals are targeting it with a growing scam that the FBI calls house stealing? House alarms, doorbell cameras, and deadbolts won't work against these thieves because they're not after your stuff, they're after your equity. If your title isn't being monitored, scammers can transfer the title out of your home into their name using a one-page document that they file down at the county. Then they take out loans against it or even sell it behind your back. And you know the worst part? You won't even find out until collection or even foreclosure is started, and they're in your mailbox. But by then, the damage has been done. The best way to protect your equity is with triple lock protection from my friends at Home Title Lock. Triple lock protection, 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, and God forbid, if the worst does happen, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. You can check in your home's title today and make sure you're not a victim already. Use promo code Gruber at HomeTitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name, where it belongs. You'll also get a free title history report, plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes. And if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to have it fixed. $1 million. Go to HomeTitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code Gruber. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code is Gruber. HomeTitleLock.com. All right, on another note, do you guys play? You play in the brackets, do you? Because I do. I don't have any brackets left, but it's been fun to watch. That UConn-Duke game was something yesterday. I don't watch much of it, but what a remarkable ending to that basketball game. It's kind of fun. Still an American thing. I like doing American things, not thinking about communists. So I took a breather over the weekend from much of it, but I came back red hot to be here with you today, all right? We'll take a break and be right back. It is The Steve Gruber Show. Anthony's like, well, who do I still have alive? You got Michigan alive, son. You got Michigan alive. We'll see how those games play out. I do enjoy, I watch more college basketball this time of year than any other time because I watch it pretty much never other times. I don't watch sports the way I used to. Much more important things to talk about and concern ourselves with. But every now and then you got to walk away from that because if you focus solely on the things that are happening in this world, you'd lose your mind. You look like one of those, blue-haired folks running around with a no king sign saying, Donald Trump is not a king. No kidding. We knew that. He was elected by the will of the people. And trying to overturn that election, that is tyranny. That's tyranny. Not allowing the man that was elected to do the job to do the job. That is representative democracy, as this republic was established. Donald Trump did order TSA workers to be paid regardless of what Congress does. I hereby, he issued an executive order. I hereby direct the Secretary of Homeland Security in coordination with the Director of the Office of Management and Budget to use funds that have a reasonable and logical nexus to TSA operations to provide TSA employees with compensation and benefits. And that's great. The problem is, quite simply, that only takes care of the TSA folks. The Coast Guard and others, well, not so good. Not so good. You know, I used to think a mattress was just furniture until I got my ghost bed. It is a great bed. Just got it set up. Honestly, the first night I slept on it, I woke up thinking this is what it's supposed to be like. And then the dogs and cats went crazy, and I didn't sleep as well the next night. But Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. Their beds are serious health equipment, really. Sleep is the most important thing you can get every night. Bed's designed for relief and recovery, not looks and fluff. Your body should be healing while you sleep, not fighting for comfort. And I did notice a difference. We checked it out, Ivy and I. If you're waking up stiff, if you're tossing and turning, sleeping way too hot, even reaching for a pain med before you go to bed, hoping it'll be different tonight, that's not aging. That could be your mattress talking. Here's another thing I love about Ghost Bed. You get 101 nights to try it for free at home. If you don't feel the difference, you can send it back risk-free. GhostBed offering my audience their lowest price of the season plus an extra 10% off right now. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. That's ghostbed.com/Gruber. You're going to love this thing. By the way, it's American-made. It's an American-made bed system, and it's a lot less expensive than the others. Check it out, ghostbed.com. Promo code Gruber. I'll be right back.
When a child is diagnosed,
All right, let's jump right back into it now. My next guest is Kent Strang. He's the managing director of Americans for Prosperity. And he says that President Trump was right to suspend the Jones Act for 60 days. So many of you might ask, well, Gruber, what's the Jones Act? Well, let's find out. Let's get Kent in here. Kent, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. Nice to see you. I have no brackets left, but I'm getting by, right? You know, like everybody else. I made it through the first couple of games, and that was the end of that. Anyhow, nice to see you today. The Jones Act. This is in response to the consequences of the war with Iran, in part. So what is the Jones Act? Why is it important? Explain it to the folks.
Sure. Well, the Jones Act says that in order to move anything in the United States from U.S. port to U.S. port, it has to be on an American-made ship. It has to be crewed by Americans, and it has to be moved. It has to be owned by Americans. And so what that does is it artificially increases prices. And so when we have a crisis in Iran, or if we have natural disasters and we have to move things like oil, it can be more expensive to move oil from, say, Texas to the East Coast than it can from overseas. And so if we have a crisis, and we might ask ourselves if it's less expensive to move oil when the Jones Act is suspended, why do we have it in the first place? And so we only have 54 oil tankers that meet that Jones Act requirement of built in the U.S., owned by U.S., and crewed by the U.S. citizens. And so it's time to probably get rid of this 100-year-old antiquated law.
So just so I'm clear on this then, Kent, it only refers to ships moving in the U.S.? I mean, if a container ship comes in from overseas with all these massive containers on it, comes into a U.S. port, that doesn't have to be an American ship, right?
No, it doesn't. It's U.S. port to port, but that also includes things like Puerto Rico, Hawaii, others. Obviously, those are U.S. ports.
Obviously, energy coming from Alaska then all has to move on U.S. ships by law.
That's
for
right.
100 years. Now, look, I get the idea behind it, I suppose, but it's antiquated, as you said. And you're right. If it doesn't work today, then it didn't work yesterday, did it?
No, it doesn't. And it comes from a 100-year-old law post-World War run from Woodrow Wilson's time period. And it was probably to increase the number of ships we had in America in case we needed to be ready. But we suspend it frequently when there are times of crisis. So during hurricanes, we suspend the Jones Act. Again, right now, President Trump has suspended the Jones Act for 60 days because of the conflict happening in Iran and with the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. But again, this is one of those things where if it's cheaper to bring oil from overseas instead of getting it from Texas to the East Coast, we should probably just shut this thing down and stop it. And I look at Puerto Rico as a great example, and I look at LNG. The U.S. is the #1 producer of liquid natural gas in the world. We don't have a single tanker that can move LNG. Now, we move a lot of that via pipeline, but we don't have pipelines absolutely everywhere. We don't have a single tanker that meets those Jones Act requirements, and it makes it more difficult for places like Puerto Rico to get liquid natural gas, makes their costs go up, makes it more expensive to live in a place like Puerto Rico.
Yeah, here's the thing. Oil is at $101 today, a little bit higher than it was last week, and out of the range. It was holding in a range from the high 80s to the mid 90s. It's broken through that a little bit, which means the price at the pump is going to go up a bit. But the truth of the matter is some tankers are moving through the Strait of Hormuz, just not very many. I was told that 10 went through here the last few days. You need 10 a day or more to come through the Strait of Hormuz to stabilize and reduce oil prices, right? That's where you have to be. And until that happens, we need to get to the bottom of this. What else can we do, Kent, besides the Jones Act, to address energy prices in America? Look, the Northeast, if they'd build more pipelines, you mentioned pipelines, if they'd build more pipelines, they would have lower energy costs, but they refuse to do it based on some Green New Deal nonsense, right? I mean, they won't put pipelines into the Northeast. They pay some of the highest energy prices in the nation as a result, right?
They sure do. And there's some things that we have done. I don't want to walk away from the things that we have done that have been important. One is President Trump went in some of his first days of office and have gotten rid of a lot of Biden's bad Green New Energy Deals executive orders. That was step one. In the working families tax cuts or the one big beautiful bill, the Republicans expanded offshore drilling. That was a great sign. What else can we do now? We can expand the amount of drilling that we can do in the United States and get our natural resources. We can streamline our permitting process. It takes longer to build things in America than it does to get the permit. There are hundreds of programs that are shut down because it just takes too long to get permits. We can cut needless red tape, streamline our regulatory process, but Congress can pass what's called permitting reform. It takes way too long to get permits. They get stuck in the amount of lawsuits and red tape, and we can't build anything. And so we can have the infrastructure we need. We can have the energy we need in America if we can just get red tape and bureaucrats out of the way, because as we've seen, energy security is national security, and Americans want affordability. They do not want $4 gas prices. So we should do everything we absolutely can to lower prices at the pump, lower prices for natural gas, and for energy for folks at home to make their food costs lower.
Yeah. Gas in California, the average now just about $6 a gallon. The national average $3.99, up a cent from yesterday. It had cooled off a bit last week, but it's up a cent from yesterday, up about 4 cents from a week ago. Here's something else the president did, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. The Defense Production Act, he enacted that to tell California and its oil companies start producing, because California used to produce 40% of the oil in America. Think about that. And then all the Green New Dealers and the tree huggers and the bunny lovers came in and they said, no, we can't disturb this salamander or this toad. Fact of the matter is, California energy could also be a game changer for this country. I like the use of the Defense Production Act here, but again, bad policies, whether it's the Jones Act or banning, energy exploration in California, these are bad ideas that hurt Americans, are they not?
Look, I don't see anyone who doesn't want a clean environment and who wants to make sure we're doing things the right way. I think we've made pretty incredible technological advances to make sure that we're doing that the safe and right way. But absolutely, let's produce all that we can in the best way possible. Let's eliminate the red tape that's unnecessary. Let's get those energy projects out and going and produce as much as we can here to save more folks in America at the pump, at their dinner table, because energy impacts the price of absolutely everything. Fertilizer, 30% of fertilizer goes through the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to impact the cost for farmers to be able to plant here coming up soon, and that's going to make food costs more expensive, more to ship when they get it out of the ground. And so we need to be incredibly mindful of prices. Energy is the way to do that.
Let's be honest, Kent. I had this conversation with a woman here recently, and she looked at me like I had three heads. The fact of the matter is, she did. The fact of the matter is, America is the cleanest, greenest, industrialized nation on earth in the history of industrialized nations, period. We do a better job of cleaning up after ourselves and making sure things are done right so that the water's safe, the air is safe, the soil's safe, than any country on earth. And we need to focus on that and pay attention to, we are a great country, and we do it well. So stop putting us in handcuffs. Kent, last word to you.
I think that's 100% true. We have such incredible natural resources here that we can get to. We've got to get the red tape and the bureaucrats out of the way to be able to do that, so we have the energy that we need to thrive and to live the American dream.
Amen. Kent Strang from Americans for Prosperity. He's the managing director. Kent, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that oil price for $101 right now as it continues to creep up. It's a global commodity, but that notwithstanding, we shouldn't have to rely on anyone if people just get out of the way. We should not have to rely on anyone. This is America, for God's sake. I'll take a break and be right back.
from the heart of them.
Welcome back to the program. Look, your good health, it doesn't happen by accident. It's got to be something you consider every day. If you want to live long and healthy and vigorous, you got a plan. I really like what they've been doing with Make America Healthy again. They say it starts with you. Make sure you eat the right things, do the right things, take care of yourself. You can't just rely on people looking after you after you've made bad choices. And that's why I like my next guest so much, Joe Reek, the Vice President of Sales at Longevity. Joe, good morning. Nice to see you again.
Good morning, Steve. Happy Monday. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Look, for anybody who has not heard of Longevity, this is a nutritional shake. And it's for everybody, 8 to 80. And I say that because it's good for so many different things. It's good for kids. It's good for people in middle age who maybe are on a diet. And it's good for older folks trying to get a nutrition that supports your joints, your brain, your digestion, your immune function. And it's all made with really good stuff. I like it when Joe goes through the ingredient list because it's all real stuff. It's not a bunch of stuff made in a laboratory to say, oh, take this lab-grown shake, you'll be better. It's nothing like that. Longevity is there for every season of your life. Joe, thank you. And tell us about Longevity. Tell us about why it's so different.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Longevity is a whole body nutrition drink. So not only are you going to be getting protein for your muscles, but there's also DHA that helps your brain function. It actually helps prevent the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. There's probiotics in there for gut health. So now your gut can process and break down the foods more efficiently and more effectively. We also have bovine colostrum that boosts your immunity. And my favorite is there's 15.5 grams of collagen. Collagen for wound healing, collagen for skin care, your hair, your skin, your nails. And when you take collagen in a high dose like you do in Longevity, it's going to start affecting your joints and your tendons. It's going to repair that soft tissue. And so for those who are active, especially during springtime, as you go outside and you're becoming more active and your joints kind of hurt because you're taking, you've had that nice little winter break, Longevity is going to help you function easier. It's going to help your body move better. You're going to have the energy to go about your day. You're going to have the clear head because the brain fog is going to be gone because of the DHA and the omega-3 oils in Longevity. Steve, this is a whole body nutritional drink. And like you mentioned too, so whether you're trying to gain weight, whether you're trying to lose weight even, it's going to help support those functions for you. Those who are on GLP-1s and everything. It's amazing, Steve.
Here's a couple of examples of how we use it in our house. I'll just tell you. Our teenage son, lifting every day at the gym. He's got a lot of dedication. I appreciate that. He'll sometimes have 2 Longevities a day, before workout and post-workout. It's great for that because of all the protein, all the collagen you mentioned. It's really good for that. If you're somebody who, and look, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. If you're trying to lose weight, that's a great idea. Being lighter is better for your heart and your health. But if you lose bone and muscle, it's a bad deal, and you don't want that to happen. And then if you're older, look, we know a lot of folks that are older that are just trying to maintain weight and continue their lifestyle. So in all 3 of those places, Longevity is the answer. And if you want something that tastes great, look, this stuff is fabulous. You can mix it with milk or water, and look, we use it, like I said, teenage boy, middle-aged parent, elderly grandparent, and everybody in between. It fits all of those categories, correct?
Absolutely, it does. It does. For young kids, when infants are first born, they give them DHA in baby formula to help their brain function. And it's been studied in adults too. Like I mentioned earlier, it helps prevent the onset of dementia and Alzheimer's. It clears that brain fog. And so there's ingredients inside of Longevity that make it just amazing for your body. 22 natural vitamins and minerals. So Steve, there's no synthetic vitamins, there's no synthetic oils inside of Longevity. It is super clean and it tastes amazing. And one thing that we're going to do that we're super excited about is today, Monday and Tuesday only, with every purchase of Longevity, whether you get on our subscription plan or you're just buying a single pouch, we're going to give you an extra pouch of our strawberry flavored Longevity shake absolutely free. So now you're going to be getting an extra pouch with your order. That is available when you use the promo code Gruber today and tomorrow when you go to longevitywellness.co.
And what a deal that is. Look, I'd like you, I can see the bag behind you there, and you've got the single serve packaging as well, whatever people want. But if you read those ingredients, because I looked at this, one of the first things I noticed about this product It wasn't manufactured this. Like you said, no garbage seed oils, none of that stuff that, look, Make America Healthy Again means not eating those things, right? It's not highly processed garbage. Tell the folks what's in it.
I love this part, Steve, because these are actual terms and words that you can actually read. Like, I love reading our vitamin and mineral blend. So all of the vitamin and minerals, it comes from bioavailable products. And these, what that means is that it's grown. It's nothing that's synthetically produced in a lab. It's grown from the ground. And our vitamin and seed mix contains broccoli, spinach, kale, pumpkin, sweet potato, sunflower seed, maitake mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms. It has everything that you need to have your body function properly. But what's the most amazing thing, Steve, is that you feel better. I love getting calls from customers who are taking longevity. And I asked them, I said, what have you noticed about yourself, about your health since you've been taking longevity? And all of them, Steve, they all say, I just feel better. I have the energy that I have that I need to go about my day without needing my little power naps.
That's right.
My joints aren't stiff. My hips don't hurt. My knees don't crack. It's those little things that I just love hearing. And I was talking about this with my wife the other day, how lucky I've been in my career. I've spent my career helping people, a majority of my career helping people get better prepared. And now I get to help people feel better every single day.
Every single day.
Steve. And it is one of the best feelings. And that's one of the things that I
Absolutely.
love about what I do is helping people feel better.
It is longevity. Joe Reek, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And here's the special again, folks. Longevity Wellness simplifies your routine. It's the all-in-one shake. Supports joints, brain health, digestion, and immune function. It tastes great, easy, and built for real life. You can go to longevitywellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber right now for an exclusive listener discount, which includes that free bag of strawberry. There's a QR code right there on your screen as well. LongevityWellness.co, promo code Gruber. Today and tomorrow only, a free bag of strawberry with your purchase. You can't beat it. I want you to be the best you can be. You can do that with Longevity Wellness. I really appreciate Joe Reek. He really knows the product, helping people every day. LongevityWellness.co, promo code Gruber. I'll be right back. All right, so there's discussion right now of Donald Trump potentially using Marines, maybe Rangers, Army Rangers, to go in and get the nuclear material out of Iran. Very difficult to do. Go get that 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium. How do you feel about that? I really want you to weigh in. Send me an email, stevegruber.com, or jump in on one of the chat sessions at YouTube or elsewhere. Getter as well. You can jump in on the chat session. Tell me what you think about that. Where do these wars start? Who's pulling the strings? Well, today a brand new podcast, Forgotten America with me and Ivy, drops at 9 a.m. this morning on YouTube. You can subscribe for free. I encourage you to do that. Susan Kokinda of Promethean Action, fascinating woman, who says it's all tied back to a globalist undertaking that's more than a century old. All of these things you see, they're all puppeteering us. Here's a preview.
The Bank of England, like today's Federal Reserve, is a private central bank, and it operates for a global financier elite. The National Bank of the United States was exactly what its title said, national. It was authorized by Congress, and its mission was to grow the economy of the United States, not to just make a bunch of profits for a bunch of, City of London or Wall Street financiers. They're two completely different entities. And, sort of to get back to the whole question of how do the British do this? They rewrite our history.
Yeah, there you have it. Big banks behind a lot of what you're seeing out there. That's the concern. And here's what we have for you today, a bonus. Because we first spoke to Susan Kokinda before the start of the war and then said, hey, let's have you back. It's a double shot today. 2 podcasts for the price of none because it's free. Again, Forgotten America. It's me and Ivy. Go to YouTube. Become a subscriber for free. You can see the QR code right there on your screen. All right? And you'll enjoy that conversation. This part of the program brought to you by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet. Veterans ready to own your own business and be your own boss. Join a trusted brand. Serve your community in a new way. Vets to the front of the line. I love these guys for doing this. 500 franchises around the country and growing. And if you're a veteran, you go to the front of the line, you get some costs taken off because they respect veterans. PuroVet.com. PuroVet.com. We've got another big hour here straight ahead. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Good to see you on a Monday. Locked, cocked, and ready to rock. I'll be back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And welcome to it as we break into another big hour here and light the fuse on what should be an explosive hour here. A lot to cover here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Three big things this hour. Number one, Democrats now finally agreeing that one of their colleagues found to have laundered millions of dollars illegally should resign her seat. But will it really happen? Ivy will weigh in on that. Number two, did the Ukrainian government work with Joe Biden and Democrats to launder hundreds of millions of dollars from USAID into the Biden campaign? Well, John Solomon says yes and says he's got the receipts. And number three, look, the partial government shutdown is continuing. Although President Trump did sign an executive order Friday to get TSA paid, other problems persist. And the biggest problem is Democrats throwing a tantrum. You know why? Because they lost the 2024 election. This isn't about no kings. In fact, this is about trying to overturn the will of the people, being tyrants themselves. They don't like the fact that Donald Trump is president, even though he was lawfully and legally elected. They're on the wrong side of this argument, I can assure you. On ABC yesterday, Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen, the guy who went to El Salvador to have margaritas with an illegal alien, you know him, says they're not blocking DHS funding. Apparently, they're not actually blocking it, the Democrats. News to me and news to ABC. Listen.
I guess what's confusing here is you have fought and blocked the funding for the Department of Homeland Security because you object, as you just outlined, to what ICE has been doing. And you wanted to force changes. And yet, the only thing that has been assured throughout all of this is that ICE already has the money. Because as you said, $75 billion passed in the budget bill last year. So you're holding up the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security because you object to ICE and you want changes to ICE. But through it all, ICE continues to have the money it needs.
John, we're not holding up all of the money for all the Department of Homeland Security. That's just a false statement. We have said repeatedly, repeatedly, we should fund TSA, we should fund FEMA, we should fund the Coast Guard. We are not prepared to give ICE another $10 billion on top of the monies they already have and are using in many of these lawless operations. We're not going to give them another $10 billion unless they make fundamental reforms, including...
Senator, they're not asking for another $10 billion. They're funded through 2029. Ivy, I heard her laugh in the background. She joins me now. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning. I like to call that fake news right there.
Yeah, it is fake news right there, without question. Look, there's $75 billion in the bank for ICE. That's not an issue at all. I do like the fact that the president said, let's get the TSA paid for the first time. But look, that doesn't include the Coast Guard or CISA or FEMA. The Democrats, and I would ask, dear Democrats, what are you getting out of this? Because I don't see anything.
I don't think this is a winning argument for them because people are really feeling this pain at airports, especially those that are really impacted, while they had multiple shutdowns of this funding, and I just think that people are like sick of it. Like, stop it, you know. And the one thing that he says there essentially is, well, you know, these are illegal, you know, things that they're doing and scooping up criminals and rapists and child murderers in our streets, and they shouldn't be able to do that.
Then they can live with him.
Okay.
Then they can live with him, or they can be his neighbor. All right. You know, I want to show you one
illegal
more
operations.
Yeah, I want one more bite here, Anthony. Go to the next bite here, because here on CBS they try to suggest the shutdown is the fault of the Republicans. They get hammered for it. Listen.
Oh my gosh.
Why wasn't the White House able to get both heads of the party the president controls on the same page?
Look, I've been up on the Hill. I've been in these meetings. I've met with lawmakers from both sides. This isn't a White House issue. This is the Democrats shutting down the Department of Homeland Security.
So did you support the Republican bill in the Senate that passed?
I support Congress opening up the entire government, the entire DHS, and not holding people in DHS hostage because they don't like immigration enforcement.
You weren't on board with the Senate bill.
I support opening up the entire government. I'm with the president.
Yeah.
Okay.
She gets shut down, as she should. And the smugness, she's laughing at Tom Homan.
Right. Well, that's the thing. She's not a reporter there. She's not reporting on the news and what should be.
No.
She's an attack campaign against Tom Homan right there.
Yeah, she's a commentator. She's an opinion person there. That's not your role. That's not your function. Look, here we can talk about opinions. I've got plenty of them. So do you.
Well, actually, but you get your opinions through fact.
Fair point. Yeah.
You just don't, have a hatred for anyone, and then your worldview is through the lens of your hatred. Because that's what a lot of these other commentators on other news networks, that's what they do.
Agreed. And you make a great point. We have some Democrat friends, you and I, that we talk to. We do.
Listen, this is where I think our country has gone wrong. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not think the same politically. Doesn't mean that we can't shake hands and break bread together. And that is such a shame today, where there is so much hatred and so much vitriol for the other opinion, and this goes for both sides, by the way, that you cannot just put your differences aside and have a meal, share some time together, whatever it is. And that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking because it's so hateful. I was watching a number of the No Kings thing. We started the program with today about how Singham is paying millions and millions of dollars to support all these things. Yet none of this is organic, right?
No.
And I saw a number of clips on social media. Why? What are you protesting? Well, no. Why are you here? What did Donald Trump do that you really don't like? He's a tyrant. Oh, really? How? Because I would say quite clearly, Donald Trump is not a king. In fact, Mazie Hirono.
Of course he's not a king.
Of course not. Mazie Hirono, the senator from Hawaii, said, Donald Trump is not a king and never will be a king. She said that on social media, and we all say, so you agree with us? He's not a king, right? Because you wouldn't have this protest if you were a king. You wouldn't allow it to happen, right?
Right.
And all they're trying to do is overturn the will of the people. 77 million Americans voted for Donald Trump, and they're throwing a tantrum. That's what I see.
Just the fact that we have freedom of speech and you can go out there and protest this, for the No Kings rallies, tells you a little bit about our country. Because if you lived in a place that actually had a king and didn't want to hear your opinions, they just throw you in jail for who knows how long and never see the light of day until, some foreseeable future. So just in that one little example, we do not have a king.
Yeah, exactly right. We don't have a king.
It's
nor
ridiculous.
will we ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyhow, all right, so hold that thought because Ivy's going to stick around a bit this morning. If you got some comments, jump into the chat rooms in YouTube or Getter, wherever you might be roaming. Tell us what you think. My question, because there's discussion now that the United States Marines could go in search of that nuclear material in Iran. What do you think of that? I'm going to ask Ivy what she thinks of that in a moment as well, get her to weigh in. It has a lot of people divided. Yes, we want the nuclear material so that we never have to face this challenge again. But then again, boots on the ground, very sensitive. What are your thoughts? I'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Monday. Nice to see you here. We'll be right back. All right, so in the break, Ivy said, I like the term troops on the ground, not boots on the ground. I said, why is that? She's coming back with me now. She says it humanizes. It's not just boots, it's people.
Exactly.
Real people, Americans on the ground. How do you feel about it? So how do you feel about that?
I actually trust our president if he's going to send troops into the country there. He will have a strategic plan, getting in, getting out. But we actually don't know what the purpose of this group of folks is, right? You said it was...
It's not clear. Well, I'll just give you the background. The 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit deployed to the Middle East over the weekend, 10,000 troops in all.
Mm-hmm.
Some are saying that it's a target of that uranium, that enriched uranium, about 400 kilograms is the estimate. So what's that, 500 pounds?
Yeah, it was a lot more than we anticipated.
Correct. And so that's one thing. And, of course, keeping the Strait of Hormuz open is the other thing because oil today has gone slightly above $100. It's $101 a barrel, a bit higher than it was, $5 higher than it was to end the week last week. So, obviously, the pressure at the pump, the national average now $3.99. The president mindful of the fact that, midterms are coming.
Right.
People don't like to see $4 gas. We saw it as high as, $4.20 over the weekend?
We did, but I think that a lot of people realize that it's a short-term pain for long-term gain in terms of world affairs. And I mean, that's in my opinion. How about yours?
I agree. I think that's exactly right. I think we have to get through this. And look, 77 million people voted for this guy to be in charge.
Yep.
He's in charge, and so far, most of what he's done, I'm okay with. Closing the border.
Most of? What are you unhappy with?
I don't like a couple of things. I don't like the fact that we're not looking at PFAS the way we did. He backed off regulations on forever chemicals. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't agree with him on everything. Yeah. But the major things I think I do, which is the border, ramping up American energy, taking out Maduro, I'm fine with all of that. Reestablishing the United States as the ultimate power in the Western Hemisphere and projecting American power and respect on the world stage, big things.
Peace through strength, absolutely.
Right, but like PFAS, forever chemicals, are a dangerous and deadly thing, and they backed off the monitoring of that and the regulation of that. I disagree with that completely. I bet Robert Kennedy does as well, just for the record.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
I agree with that, too. Let's go back to something you talked about at the top of the hour. Representative Sheila Sherfilis McCormick. She's a Democrat from Florida. So the House Ethics Committee found clear and convincing evidence that she had misconduct of 25 out of 27 charges.
What did she do, Ivy?
Well, there was allegations that $5 million in COVID and FEMA funds were improperly received by her family's healthcare company, and they were funneled through others into her campaign donations.
Oh.
So she also faces federal criminal charges for money laundering tied to her campaign financing.
Oh. That reminds me of a case of George Santos, a New York Republican here a couple of years ago, who was tossed out for fraud and identity theft. All right, so he was tossed out of Congress, but very few Democrats are calling for her removal. Jim Himes being an exception, member of Congress. Democrat says she needs to go. Bad look. I would agree with that. Look, if you steal $5 million from the United States taxpayer, you don't get to serve in Congress. You get to serve time.
And that took money away from people that probably really needed it.
Yeah.
And if you committed fraud to get the money, you should deserve to have consequences.
So
actions
something
have
else.
Consequences.
You might have not seen this headline yesterday. It popped up yesterday. AOC apparently used $19,000 from her campaign fund for personal therapists. So that's illegal. So AOC is being investigated now for something similar.
I don't know. Maybe I think I can get behind that usage of money for her. Although I'm not sure that's how much.
She needs therapy. You know what? We'll go ahead and look the other way on that one. Yeah, can we get it for everybody else, like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar? Can we get them therapy too?
I'm not sure it's helped much. I do have some bad news for you, though.
All right.
Just recently, thieves stole 12 tons of Kit Kat bars. Well, this happened in Europe, so it's really probably not bad news for you. However, 12 tons of Kit Kat bars were stolen. Why would you steal Kit Kat bars, first of all?
12 tons?
Yes. It's approximately 413,000 Kit Kat bars.
Well, what about Easter? They're messing with Easter at this point.
Right?
Yeah.
My goodness.
12 tons. So what'd they do? Hijack a semi-truck? What'd they do?
Let's see. That was being transported. And they, let's see. I did not get that. Oh, yes. So the truck was hijacked and they stole the vehicle with all the chocolate in it.
There you go. Yeah.
And really quickly, how much time do we have?
You got a couple minutes. You got a minute and a half.
Okay. So there's this, I don't know if you saw this, but over the weekend, Baltimore Orioles opened its, and Anthony, you could play this. There was a 109-year-old veteran, Arthur Green.
109?
Yeah, 109. He threw out the ceremonial first pitch to open the Baltimore Orioles season. And I just think this is so cute.
That guy's 109?
109.
He ain't in no wheelchair.
No, and he's out there. Look at him. Throwing the pitch.
Wow.
You know, he doesn't do too bad of a job. He gets it there.
Yeah, that's pretty. 109.
Isn't that like, that's just to me is exciting. And let's be like that guy at 109.
All right, cool. Will we have any friends left?
No.
No, I don't know either. I was going to play one more thing. I don't know if I have time for it, though. You know what? Play the Bill Maher bite. Just go ahead. Roll it.
I've asked this question so many weeks on this show, and I can never get an answer. I just don't understand the American economy. I really don't. I don't understand how there could be so much wealth, and I pay so much in taxes, and it doesn't seem to get to the people. Like, I don't even mind doing it. Well, over half, always, way over half. And yet it just, I never read about the homeless getting better, anything getting better, at least not in a city like this.
Look at that. He pays all this in taxes, and nothing ever gets better. It gets worse. The homeless aren't taken. I feel like, Ivy, I feel like Bill Maher, he's almost there. He's almost got it.
Is that Alyssa Slotkin sitting right next to him?
It was Alyssa Slotkin sitting right next to him, our senator. Woo. So proud. Ivy, love you. Thank you.
Love you.
You too, Anthony. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah. Bill Maher's almost there. He's going to be a Republican before you know it. You know, one can hope. I'll take a break and be back. It is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, so I'm a little confused by this story, but I want to share it with you because I found it interesting. Two things coming out about the war in Iran. First of all, Uganda, right? Uganda, you remember that? That country back in the 70s, you're old enough to remember, Idi Amin and all that stuff. Well, it's a different country today, apparently, a bit. The Uganda military chief vows to back Israel against Iran in a viral media barrage. Yeah, the general in charge of that country's military says, we'll come, all you got to do is ask. We'll come attack Iran. All you have to do is ask. And they've got about, 80,000 soldiers. 80,000 soldiers from Uganda, more than happy to get on a plane and come fight Iran. That was kind of interesting to me, to say the least. Heavily involved in the military conflict affected countries. Its soldiers fight as part of the African Union Force against Islamist al-Shabaab terrorists in Somalia, for example. So they're well rehearsed. It's a Christian country, is Uganda. So they're well versed in dealing with radical Islamic killers. And they said, we're happy to help out. Let us come play. All right, so you got that going on. And then the African nation of Somaliland, it's like a semi-autonomous region of South Africa, tells on X, say the word and we will extradite Ilhan Omar. You know, so when people tell you Donald Trump is not popular on the world stage, don't kid yourself. He's really popular in Iran with the people, maybe not the government, but with the people. I mean, the evidence is everywhere. If your shirt feels thin and worn out, your flannel shirt, boy, have I got something for you. This is about the last chance because they're going to go into storage. But Muskox flannels, built different, heavyweight, rugged, a Detroit company. They're insanely comfortable. They're worn around here for about 6 months out of the year. They're not fashion. They're thick, double-brushed cotton. They work hard. They look great. And you can save $15 right now when you go to gomuskox.com/heavyweight. gomuskox.com/heavyweight. It is an investment, and it's worth it. This is your spring jacket. And your neighbors are going to go, man, where'd you get that? From Gruber. GoMuskox.com. Promo code heavyweight. Check it out. Back with more after this. All right, so couple of things here about the next story we're going to cover. Insider trading based on war. No kidding. Listen to this. 15 minutes before Donald Trump announced that the U.S. would cease targeting Iranian oil infrastructure after productive negotiations, 15 minutes in advance, someone, anonymously, placed a $580 million bet on the oil futures market, and you think it's not rigged. The trade was placed at 6:50 a.m. March the 23rd. Trump's announcement came at 7:05. This has got to be investigated, said Peter Schweitzer. Peter Schweitzer, who appeared recently on our Forgotten America podcast, fabulous guest. And Susan Kokinda, her podcast with us, Forgotten America, drops at 9 o'clock this morning, talking about the big banks, the globalists, and the puppeteering that's going on. You don't want to miss any of that. Right now, Eric Eggers is joining me, Vice President of Research at the Government Accountability Institute. He is the author of Fraud, How the Left Plans to Steal the Next Election, and co-host of its podcast, The Drill Down, with Peter Schweitzer, our recent guest here on our podcast. Eric, nice to see you today.
Steve, always good to be back with you. Good morning.
You know, nothing like good inside information to make a few dollars along the way, right? I mean, the members of Congress have been doing this to enrich themselves for years, but this would come from inside the administration, I would think. How does somebody have information to place a $580 million bet 15 minutes in advance?
No, there's a lot to be very concerned about, Steve, because this undercuts so much credibility within the Trump administration specifically. We're willing to give, I think, Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt in some ways as it relates to kind of litigating this war, at least so far. But when people within the administration are leveraging their access to information to make hundreds of millions of dollars and place $580 million bets in the market initially, that's a profound threat to America's national security. It means we can't keep secrets, and it means someone is not putting in national security first. They're putting their own personal enrichment first. I think it should be addressed head on by the Trump administration. Here's the real scandal of this, by the way, Steve. This was a futures bet, and so the commission that's in charge of regulating this or would be investigating this, it's the Commodity Future Trading Commission. There's 5 commissioners on that board. But right now, there's only one of them. The other 4 seats are vacant. So whoever did this appears poised to get away with it, which is why I think it would be in the profound best interest of the Trump administration to come out and address this head on.
Wow. So if the commission only has 1 of 5, does that person have any power to do anything?
Exactly. And at this point, they might say, well, we flagged it. But flagging it's not the same thing as investigating it. And it's certainly not the same thing as prosecuting the person that's done it. But as you noted, this is just the culture of Washington, D.C. People in Congress have been doing this for years. That's why out of all the counties in the country, 7 of the 10 wealthiest counties in this country are the counties surrounding Washington, D.C. It's a cesspool that collects money and doesn't give anything back. And this is exactly par for the course of the kind of behavior that contributes to this kind of thing.
How did Congress get so corrupt? Honestly, how did this country, and it's not just Congress. I can look at Minnesota. I can look at California. Look, there's corruption and fraud in all 50 states. Some just to a greater extent than others. No question about it. We see billions of dollars in insider trading. We see members of Congress making $174,000 a year becoming multimillionaires in 2 or 3 terms. I mean, look, it's the worst kept secret in the world, right?
Absolutely. And I know you didn't necessarily have me on to talk about this, but here's a free nugget for you and your audience. I heard this stat from a guy I was talking to who's running for Congress recently. It used to be that Congress was made of 60% of veterans. Right now, that stat is 16. So you have a significantly fewer number of people who have served this country previously. And I think for the first time a few years ago, we had more, half of Congress was comprised of millionaires. So I think the incentive stopped being patriotism and started being financial enrichment. And, you mentioned Peter Schweitzer. I've had the good fortune of working with him for about 13, 14 years now. And he started our organization, the Government Accountability Institute, after he wrote a book called Throw Them All Out, which exposed insider trading in Congress. That bill led to the passage of something called the Stock Act. It had languished for years, like no one wanted to sponsor it, and then 60 Minutes did a piece on it. So then they passed legislation, right? Within the next year, they gutted it. And so they took all the teeth out, and now they can't even get a dang vote on it. They've had the Pelosi Act and everything else. So it's embarrassing. And, Ro Khanna and some of these people who say, oh, we should ban insider trading, they're the ones that do it the most. It's insane.
Yeah, of course they are. Point your finger. We have got to stop this over here. We don't want to vote on that. This is what the American people hate, Eric. Double standards, triple standards, quadruple standards. They can go and do whatever they want, get away with it. Insider trading. Now, I see that this one congresswoman is probably going to get tossed out because she stole $5 million from USAID and funneled it back into her campaign. But we also now know from our good friend John Solomon that there was a deal with the Ukrainian government to bring $200 million into the Biden campaign of laundered money. I mean, this kind of thing, I can just go flip over stone after stone after stone. It's appalling to the American taxpayer, Eric.
It would be if more people knew about it, right? But unfortunately, it takes people like you, people like John Solomon, and people like Peter Schweitzer and the folks I work with here to expose this. But there's not much more reporting. The Ukraine thing, I think we could do a Pulitzer Prize winning series of reporting on that. As soon as they appointed Penny Pritzker, the former Commerce Secretary, to be in charge of literally monetizing the war in Ukraine, and they said, well, it's an opportunity for us to kind of fast track. Maybe what we really need in Ukraine is green energy technology for these utilities. It's like, wait, what? I thought we were trying to give them missiles. Now we're trying to give them smart grids because everyone just knew that they could make a ton of money on it. And that's what you see. Like the war in Iran, don't tell us that this is about protecting American interests if someone in your administration is making money off of it.
Yeah, let me point something out here about Ukraine. Billions of dollars sent there. And a footnote to all of that some people missed. We're paying pensions, we're paying salaries, we're paying for these people to have their jobs. While our TSA agents, FEMA, CISA, and all these go without paychecks, the American taxpayer is footing the bill for pensions in Ukraine. How appalling. Last word to you.
Last thing I'll say is the real scandal about this insider trading thing in Iran is that while people are making money off of this war based on inside information, you and I, Steve, are paying significantly more money at the pump. Diesel is up over $5.70 a gallon now. And while the Trump administration is attempting to bring down costs, trucks run on diesel, which means the things that get shipped all over this country are going up in cost because of how much it costs now to get them there as a direct result of this war. So it's a scandal if someone is making money while everyone else is paying for this war.
I completely agree. Eric Eggers, thank you for being here. We'll talk again.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Yeah. If they're profiting on your pain and laughing all the way to the bank and they're supposed to represent you or they're in the administration, handcuffs, please. Now think about this. In 2006, $20,000 equaled about 33 ounces of gold. Today's prices, those 33 ounces would be about 150 grand, depending on the daily price. Smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals. That's why you need to consider buying gold from my friends at Birch Gold. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth, and today it's a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. Just text America to the number 989898. Receive your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of satisfied customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold. That is peace of mind. Text America to 989898. Again, text America to the number 989898 today. I'll take a break and be right back. It's a Monday on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, let me bring my life into more full relief for you, just so you have a better understanding of who you're listening to every day. At our home, we have a couple of dogs, we have 3 cats, and we've got a couple dozen chickens on the property. We also grow some vegetables in the summer and so forth. So we do a little bit of farming and messing around with birds and so forth. But there's a problem with bird flu right now, right? The problem is it's going through different parts of the country, and if it gets into your flock, they don't make it. About 48 hours, from what I read, in the chicken flock will be deceased. But the problem is it can also go to dogs and cats, and I want to bring on a veterinarian now, Dr. Jennifer Sperry, veterinarian for Spot Vet. Doctor, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
A lot of things to concern yourself with. We're going to talk about, how to take care of your pets in summer and so forth. But I was just asking in the break, bird flu, I read online, can pass. Dogs can get it, but they don't seem to have much trouble with it. But cats can really have problems. So we've kept the one cat of ours that travels outside daily inside. She's not pleased. She didn't let us sleep last night. She's very upset at being cooped up for 3 days. But this is a concern. If there's bird flu in your neighborhood that's, damaging to the waterfowl or the chickens, it can spread to your cats, and it can be dangerous, can it?
Yes, that is true. We see it more often in cats that are exposed to a really concentrated area of bird flu. So your cat may not have close interaction with outdoor wildlife birds, wild birds, but they may have a closer interaction if you are keeping chickens at home. So those guys can be a little bit more at risk for bird flu. All
right, so the exposure, it's something to consider as we head into summer, because if the bird flu is out there, be careful. We're weighing our options because, the cat standing on my head at 3 in the morning probably isn't going to be a long-term solution because she's upset. What are some of the bigger risks? We head in, we're in spring now. It's getting warm. It's going to be 75 here today, I think. It's going to be warm where I am, which means it's getting hot around the country. What things should we be thinking about for our dogs, for our cats, for the summer season? What should we be focused on?
3 big things that I think about. One is their tolerance to heat. The other thing that we see as the weather warms up sometimes is seasonal allergies. And then the third big thing that we want to think about is parasite control, especially in our area where it's quite temperate. We have different parasite risks in the middle of winter compared to when the weather warms up. So it's a good time to think about that.
And if I was, I think I was right about this, the last couple of years have been very tough tick seasons. Ticks have been thicker than fleas. Nice play, right? But ticks and fleas are the problem, but the ticks have really had big seasons the last couple of years. So this is something to pay attention to, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Ticks, of course, you don't want them in your house. You don't want to see them on your pets, but they also can transmit some bacterial illnesses that we are quite concerned about. So there's a good reason to keep the ticks off of your pets, especially if they go outside.
Yeah. Ivy, my wife, just hates ticks. She just hates those things. Yeah.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, you don't care for them either. I can tell by the look on your face. Nasty little creatures that, by the way, can jump like, several feet if they're so inclined. They can move. All right, so the advancement of medications for fleas and ticks has really advanced over my lifetime, so it's a pretty easy thing. You can give them the drops between the shoulder blades. There's other things you can do. How do you control ticks and fleas?
Yeah, there are lots of different formats out there, and what you really want is something that's safe for your pet. So the things that are safe for dogs, it's good to remember that they're not necessarily safe for cats. So always reach out to your veterinarian to find out that if the product you want to use is going to be safe for your particular pet. And then, you have lots of formats to choose from now. So if you want to give something that comes in a treat form that your pet swallows, you can do that. If you want to put those drops on the back of their neck, you've got that option as well. So plenty of different choices, something that's going to be more pleasant for your pet.
Yeah, you mentioned allergies. I've never paid much attention to allergies in the pets, but I guess it makes sense. I never thought much about it. Is that a big problem?
It's a big thing. It's one of the things veterinarians see the most, and we see it really frequently. So in humans, we're used to hay fever, so upper respiratory effects for allergies. In pets, allergies express themselves as skin disease. So repeated ear infections, hot spots, itchy skin. And a lot of people will see a seasonal pattern to that. When you see a seasonal pattern to your pet's allergy symptoms, A lot of times that's a pollen or another outdoor environmental factor. So that pollen count that you're reporting on every day, keep that in mind for your pets as well, especially if they're itchy pets.
You know, and the last thing, you mentioned heat-related illnesses in pets, and I see this, and I'll see somebody, it'll be 90 degrees, 90% humidity, and they're out walking their husky, and I feel sorry for that dog because that husky is not built for 90 degrees and 90% humidity. So when it comes to different breeds react differently, fair to say?
Absolutely. Different breeds have different tolerance. So the thick hair coat guys, they love it outside in the winter. But in the summer, they of course need their exercise, but you want to go for your early morning or your late evening exercise times for those guys. Another one we don't always think about is the short-faced dogs. So pugs, French bulldogs are very popular. Those guys don't cool themselves down very well, so they do not tolerate heat. You want to keep them inside in the climate control during those hot days.
So wait a second, wiener dogs are not very their heat maintenance is not good for the short-legged fellas?
The short-nosed dogs, so pugs
short nose.
those guys, yeah, they have to pant, and also their nasal passages help cool them down. So when you don't have as much nose, you don't have as much cooling capacity.
So the greyhound, very cool because they got
Greyhounds
about this
pretty
long.
cool.
Yeah,
They got
greyhounds.
sunburn though.
Yeah. Oh, so, see, sunburn really is that a concern too?
If they have a really thin coat or if they have a light hair coat and light skin underneath, they're also at risk for sunburn. Yes.
All right. Well, good information. Spot Pet Insurance. Where do people find that information?
You can find us online. Just search up Spot Pet Insurance, and we'll tell you how we can help you out.
There you go. Good information, Doctor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Greatly appreciate it. You know, sometimes we got to talk about something different. We're a pet-friendly family, and now you got it. Dogs, cats, chickens. I got 2 geese nesting out in the pond. They're not invited, by the way. Nasty creatures. They seem angry all the time, running people around. Anyhow, geese. Move along. It is the Steve Gruber Show. We'll have a check-in on sports. How does your bracket look today after what happened over the weekend? We'll talk about it with Brock in a moment. right, how's your bracket? I don't have one left, and I'm still having fun. That UConn game yesterday, they led for a total of like 50 seconds the whole game. What a finish. Here's Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. We're down to the Final Four in the NCAA men's basketball tournament after Michigan and Connecticut won regional finals yesterday. It'll be Connecticut versus Illinois in one semi, followed by Michigan against Arizona next Saturday night in Indianapolis. In the NCAA women's tournament, Connecticut and UCLA won regional finals yesterday. The last two regional finals are tonight. In Major League Baseball, there were 12 games yesterday. American League winners included Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and Seattle. National League winners included Miami, Pittsburgh, and Milwaukee. In the NBA, there were 9 games. Winners included Boston, Toronto, Houston, and Oklahoma City. In the NHL, there were 6 games. Winners included Tampa Bay, Boston, and New Jersey. In golf, Gary Woodland won the Texas Children's Houston Open for his first win since he won the U.S. Open in 2019. And Chase Elliott won the Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway for his first win of the year. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Well, Brock, I was looking good in the grade 8. I had 6 teams in. My Final Four was alive. Now I got half left.
Everyone should have such monumental problems.
Yeah, exactly. First world problems.
Exactly.
You've been an Arizona guy from the start of the year. So,
well, since January.
Well, okay. You said that's the team, and boy, are they explosive. But boy, did Michigan put on a clinic yesterday.
Michigan played terrific yesterday after about the first 10 minutes.
Yep.
They went on a 21-0 run basically to finish the first half. And after Tennessee got a technical foul with about 14 minutes left, it was a controlled scrimmage pretty much.
Michigan was playing at about not full, that's for sure. They weren't going full speed. They still got 90 points.
It didn't want to get anybody hurt, didn't want to get anybody ejected or anything like that.
And the UConn finish, good Lord.
Unreal.
Unbelievable shot.
Unreal.
Yeah, that kid.
Just unreal.
Yeah. 35-foot shot. They hadn't led since about 30 seconds into the game.
Mm-hmm.
They drain it and win the game, and Duke goes home again. UConn back. So there's your games. Arizona, Michigan, of course, you're with Arizona. I'd like to see the home team win. All right?
I'm rooting for Michigan, but I can't back off my prediction of Arizona to win it. And how about Michigan hockey into the Frozen Four? Held on to beat Minnesota Duluth yesterday. They're in the Frozen Four.
So all over the place.
Yep.
All over the place.
And Michigan women's basketball trying for a berth in the Final Four tonight. Taking on Texas.
Go Blue.
Exactly.
See, wherever you live in the country, just say it with me. Go Blue. All right? God bless you. More after this.
Somewhere around
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, let's roar right into this next hour here on the program on a Monday. Glad to have you along for the conversation. Fighting for you every single day from the foxhole of freedom, putting America first. All right, lots to cover here today. Here are three big things. A semi-truck driver was busted on the Mackinac Bridge with 27 illegal weapons, including several guns and a sword, just in case of emergency. Number two, the separation of mosque and state. A Dearborn woman says the city's blurring the lines with symbols and messaging. We'll get to that in just a moment. Number three, what about DHS funding? Donald Trump on Friday signed an executive order to say we're going to pay for TSA, but that leaves CISA, the Coast Guard, FEMA, and a whole bunch of other places unfunded and unpaid. And what are the Democrats getting out of this? Because I can't figure it out. I don't have any idea what they're getting out of this, but they continue to fight for it. All right? I want to go to Bite 17 with Byron Donalds. Right? This DHS shutdown has him fired up. Byron Donalds, member of Congress, he's going to be the next governor of Florida, I believe, pretty clearly. And he weighed in. He's not impressed. Listen to this.
The Democrats want wide open borders and no enforcement of immigration and customs, but they lost the presidential election in 2024. And the number one reason they lost that election is because their radical open borders policy, which has led to the death of young women all across America at the hands of criminal illegal aliens. The United States of America and our people said absolutely not. So this rises and falls with Chuck Schumer. I would say for Leader Thune, he's got to wise up and realize this is not 1995 anymore. These aren't the old Clinton Democrats that you could get into a room and negotiate with in good faith. These people are radical. They are unhinged. They have an ideology that does not support the American people, our Constitution, or quite frankly, Western civilization. And so if they're not going to negotiate, then you got to just roll them over, get rid of the filibuster, pass the spending bills, and let's get that piece of the government back open. It's what Donald Trump has been calling for. It's what myself and many of my colleagues have been calling for. We have seen enough.
Yeah, we have seen enough. Byron Donalds, clearly one of the smartest people in Congress. When he goes on places like CNN, it's just fun to watch because he fillets them live on TV. You know, they come at him, they throw nonsense at him. He just slaps it down, shreds it out. It's beautiful to watch. A guy with a background in finance from Florida State. His wife is an accountant at a big firm. I mean, he knows money, and he knows games, and he knows fraud, and he knows the Democrats are playing a game. I don't even get it anymore. What do they think they're getting out of this? And the answer is, I have no idea. Let's go back to Bite 9, by the way. Because as I talk about DHS, one of the other things that the Democrats keep bringing up, and I do not understand, we cannot have ICE agents at polling places. Why would you care? First of all, I don't know that anybody's putting ICE agents at polling places, right? I don't know anybody's even discussed that, but the Democrats are scared to death of that idea. Why would they be scared to death of putting ICE agents at voting precincts? I can only think of one answer, but listen to this.
Let me ask you about a separate topic. Several administration officials have discussed and have not ruled out the idea of sending ICE agents to polling locations during the midterm elections this November. Has President Trump asked ICE to start making any sort of plans to go to polling sites during the midterms?
I've had no discussions about that with President Trump or Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. Has not come up in any conversation.
So, Jake, there you are, pulling it out of your behind again. Jake Tapper there. Fake Tapper. Trying to create something that just doesn't seem to exist, and there you have that. Now, back to Dearborn. Separation of mosque and state. This is a great story at MichiganNewsSource.com. MichiganNewsSource.com. Everybody's aware of Dearborn and Dearborn Heights being the largest concentration of Muslims outside the Middle East in America, right? Well, a Dearborn woman took to the microphone at a city council meeting last week, warning officials that government neutrality on religion appears to be slipping, and she's not going to be quiet about it. The speaker, Andrea Unger, opened by acknowledging concerns about hate and discrimination and then quickly pivoted to what she sees as unequal religious recognition in public spaces. She says the city is putting up crescent moons, lights in the downtown city poles for Ramadan. She asked if they will put crosses on public light poles for Good Friday and Easter. Will they be honoring Passover, Good Friday, and Easter, she said. She also criticized seasonal decorations from the Dearborn Downtown Development Authority, noting crescent moons for Ramadan. Beyond symbolism, she raises concerns about the volume and frequency of the Islamic call to prayer. The call to prayer is loud, it's disturbing, it's annoying, and many times over the specified limit, she said, claiming one service lasted 20 minutes outside at 9 in the morning, disturbing the whole community. She questioned why residents should be forced to listen to other faiths worship while we are in our own homes. And the answer is you shouldn't. Shouldn't be subjected to that 5 times a day. The woman also took issue with materials at the local police station, saying she found a stack of papers completely written in Arabic with no English translation, and she went to the police department to file a complaint. There appears to be selective help given to some groups and not to others. She closed her public comments by warning that her attorney is reviewing potential violations of our rights by the city police and the Dearborn City Council, and she urged the city to put a stop to this harassment. If you're a person living in or around Dearborn or Dearborn Heights, send me an email. Tell me your take on what's happening there. Tell me your take. What do you think of it? Honestly, what do you think of it? Is it concerning? Do you think there's a blurring of the lines between church and state? Because, look, that's been pretty clear that if you put up the 10 Commandments in school, you're going to get sued by some left-wing organization. You're going to be taken all the way to the United States Supreme Court, even though it's a historical document relevant to the United States. And so then, what happens? Can Dearborn do this? I think they've crossed the line on everything that we've heard and read and seen. Which brings me back to you. If you're somebody that lives in that area or frequents that area, tell me what you think. Is it a big deal? Not a big deal? Something you're concerned about or something you just don't care about? SteveGruber.com. Send me that. I would appreciate it. In the meantime, make sure you follow us on all those social media platforms. And coming up at 9 o'clock, we'll have a preview for you here in a minute. But coming up at 9 o'clock, a new episode of Forgotten America, the podcast with Susan Kokinda. We've got a double drop for you today. 2 episodes with Susan Kokinda. Because one we recorded just before the war started, and then we said, you know, we need to do more with you. We're dropping them together, pre-war, post-war, and her take on the globalists pulling the strings every day, big banks and others controlling what happens in this world. Conspiracy theory? I'll let you decide. On the Forgotten America podcast, you can find it on YouTube. Preview coming up. Yeah, you got it, air piano. Love it. Welcome back to the program. Glad to have you here on a Monday. You know, a lot of us talk about COVID. We'll never do that again. We'll never go through that again. We won't tolerate that again. Now, some of us talk about it. Others do something about it. John Vecchione is the senior litigation counsel for the New Civil Liberties Alliance, and they want to make sure what happened during the lockdowns from governors like Governor Whitmer or Governor Newsom or the President of the United States, Joe Biden, that we don't go through that again. John, welcome to the program.
Here. Thanks, Steve.
Glad to have you here. All right, so you're the senior litigation counsel for NCLA, and on behalf of your clients, Jill Hines and Dr. Aaron Curiarty, you reached a settlement agreement and a consent decree, including the landmark Missouri v. Biden lawsuit against government-issued social media censorship, among other things. I mean, anybody who disagreed with government policy, vaccine mandates, questioned lockdowns. Like in Michigan, you could go to the store, but you couldn't go to the home and garden section. Just silly things. You couldn't go to your second home. Silly things.
There was some barrier to getting seeds, I remember, in Michigan.
Oh, my gosh.
Like
there was barriers
seeds
to everything. Yeah, and the 6 foot doesn't. And we learned later, none of this did anything. None of it. Nope. 6 foot distancing was random, we learned later. The mRNA jab did nothing to slow the spread or stop it in any way. We got lied to over and over again, and when people were pointing out the lies, they were the ones being penalized. Your moves here mean that it's not going to happen again, correct?
That's what we hope, and that's what we think. And there's some very powerful statements in this consent decree that it shouldn't. And it says, I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but I'll just say that first, one paragraph says the First Amendment doesn't change because of the nature of technology and social media. Another paragraph says that just because the government calls something disinformation, malinformation, or misinformation, that does not give it less First Amendment protections. And that the government is not, or at least these three agencies who are bound by it, are not going to pressure or threaten social media companies to take messages down anymore in the future. So it is really a marker, a line in the sand against this happening again.
So this will, specifically identified the U.S. Surgeon General, Centers for Disease Control, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. We call it CISA around here. Most people do. All of these places are preventing from threatening social media companies and so forth. But we know that it was worse than that.
Yes.
Groups like Meta and then Twitter, now X, but Twitter then, gave the Biden administration backdoor access. They were doing the censoring themselves. The government was doing direct censoring of people, weren't they?
Yeah, we call those portals. We were shocked. All the lawyers on this thought it was going to be pretty bad. But when we got into this, we found that at some point, at first, the social media did push back. I mean, I have to say, they said, aren't you violating First Amendment rights? But at some point, the pressure got so great that they just all collapsed. And they opened up these portals so the government could send them what messages they did not want out there. And it was really something. We only got preliminary discovery in this case because it was part of an injunction. So we didn't see everything. We only deposed 8 people, one of whom was Anthony Fauci. But what we uncovered, I think, was incredible. The fact that they gave the government special access to their content moderators is unbelievable.
It's frightening is what it is. It's the most concerning thing out of most of this, to silence people because they had a dissenting point of view. You know, whether they were serious people or crackpots doesn't matter. The First Amendment does not delineate between crazy people and normal people, right? So, look, hate speech, for example. That's what the First Amendment was created for, to allow it, not prevent it. You know, these people on the left that talk about the Constitution, they've never read the document, from what I can tell. Go ahead.
I do. I want to emphasize that because that's why this malinformation, misinformation was so bad. They said, oh, well, it's malinformation, so we can take it down. That's not what the First Amendment, what you just said is exactly why we have this case. And it's also exactly why, because it was not only the other things they were downgrading that didn't affect my clients as much because they were in the shutdown reaction to COVID fight and all of that, but also Louisiana and Missouri and Jim Hoft of Gateway Pundit sued over 2020 election stuff and also the Hunter Biden laptop, right? It's Russian disinformation, so you can't put it up. Well, that's not how it works. If it's in the United States and people want to post stuff, they're allowed to post it. And then you discuss whether or not it's disinformation, true or false. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, John, you're old enough to remember, as I am, standing in the line at the grocery store, reading the National Enquirer headlines that aliens had invaded Washington, D.C. or whatever. I mean, look, if you want to publish it, publish it. Do you have verification of it? Doesn't matter. You have to decide for yourself as a consumer, whether it's on social media or the National Enquirer or whatever it is, right? You don't get to censor people. Malinformation, by the way, this is an important distinction. Misinformation, they said, is just false. Malinformation, that was just stuff they didn't like. That's all that was, right?
Yeah, it's the stuff you were talking about, much of which turned out to be true, right? It turned out to be true that the cotton mask did not work. It turned out to be true that the 6-foot distancing was completely arbitrary. It turned out to be true that and in fact, the pharmaceutical companies admitted this. If you went to their website, it didn't say it stopped transmission. The government was saying it stopped transmission and downgrading anyone who said otherwise, including the pharmaceutical companies who made this stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And all that stuff was true.
John Vecchione, I really appreciate the work you've done at the new Civil Liberties Alliance. Congratulations on this. We're waiting for it to be finalized, but we appreciate it. We will not go through this again. Like I said, some people talk about it. Some people do something about it. John, you have, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. Good stuff. They just lied and lied and lied. And when you said they're lying, you were canceled. Well, that's over. We tell the truth here every single day. God bless America. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so a little news flash here. If you skipped college and became an electrician instead, and you're 22, 3 years old, you're young, maybe 20, man, you might have made the right decision, according to Mike Rowe. Listen to this.
The electricians that I met most recently at a data center in Plano were making $260,000 a year. It's true they had no debt, but the most consequential component of that meeting was the fact that all three of them had been poached 3 times in the prior 18 months. That's what's going on in certain parts of the country in the electric game right now. It's like the draft in the major leagues.
Like the draft in the major leagues. We're short electricians, plumbers, carpenters, handymen. We're short. We're not short on people that have college degrees that are worthless and $100,000 in debt. We have a surplus of that. What we have a shortage of are skilled trades, and it's only getting worse by the day, by the year, right? So that's where we are. The big medical hack of 2025 was several peer-reviewed studies identifying the direct connections between anti-parasitic medications having off-label benefits, fighting a wide variety of cancers. And this makes sense. The connection between tumor growth and parasites has been known for years. While the CDC remains silent, they have admitted that millions of Americans suffer from parasitic infections that often go undetected or undiagnosed. That's why Dr. Peter McCullough, the chief scientific officer of the Wellness Company, the world's most published cardiologist, says these studies make a clear case to do at least one medical-grade parasite cleanse annually. The Wellness Company's proprietary USA compounded ivermectin and mebendazole is a doctor-prescribed gold standard combination dose, designed to help the body eliminate parasites plus other incredible benefits. Each bottle contains 90 capsules. That's enough for 4 complete 21-day cleanses. This high-strength formula can't be found at your pharmacy, but the Wellness Company removes the red tape by making the process easy. It's time for a new year and a new you. Reset and own your health. Go to twc.health/Gruber. Use the code Gruber to save $60 and get free shipping. Save $60 in free shipping on this parasite cleanse, the gold standard. twc.health/Gruber. I'll be right back. All right, jumping back into it now. We're told that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security are all going to be insolvent in the near future, which means a handful of years at the most. I sit here and look at all the fraud and say, you know, if we didn't have Medicaid fraud and Social Security fraud, maybe we'd be in better shape, but that's just one part of the puzzle. Mark Goldwine is the Senior Vice President, Senior Policy Director at the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. He's here to sort it out with me. Mark, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, so shoring up Social Security, first of all, getting rid of fraud would be a nice first step for all of us. Stop squandering money and having it stolen, frankly. But you've got a new option for shoring it up. What are your thoughts?
So Social Security was designed, I think we have to keep in mind, as an income support program, right? It was to keep seniors out of poverty. Literally, that's what FDR said. But today, a couple retiring that's very wealthy can collect over $100,000 in benefits. Our proposal is very simple. Let's cap it at $100,000. So you can collect $100,000 from Social Security, but no more.
So how are the people going to take that? Because people are going to say, wait a second, I put in all this money. And what you're suggesting is a socialist option. That's what they're going to say. And what you're suggesting is unfair to those that have worked and put in their money for 30, 40 years.
I think there's two. They are going to say that. They're going to say all the stuff. The AARP and the special interests are already coming after us. But I think there's two things to keep in mind. First of all, Social Security is not a savings program.
Correct.
Social Security is a government program. It is financed with the payroll tax, but it's a government program that it does a mix of giving you back something related to your earnings and giving you back something that is redistributive to reduce poverty. The second thing to keep in mind is Social Security is 25% underfunded. So if we do nothing, everybody in 2032 gets a sudden 24% benefit cut. For a typical couple, that's $18,000. So we have a choice here. Either everybody gets across the board cut, or we start making decisions about how those savings are distributed.
All right, so another thing. First of all, you're right about something you said here. Social Security was never supposed to be a retirement plan. It was supposed to be in addition to whatever else you saved during your lifetime. That's what it was for. Of course, over time, a lot of things happen. Social Security and the Social Security number was never supposed to be used as an identification number. It was in the original legislation. Gee, how did that work out? Okay, so if you stopped it at $100,000, what would that mean long term for Social Security?
Yeah, so we ran this. So first of all, in 2026, almost nobody would be affected. We're talking about hundreds, possibly a few thousand people out of 70 million. Almost no one would be affected because almost nobody gets more than that the way that we've set the cap this year. But over time, more and more people are expected to get over 100,000. So we ran this indexed a few ways: to inflation, temporarily frozen. And basically what we found is it could close anywhere from 20 to 55% of the solvency gap, meaning depending on how we design it, could close somewhere between a fifth of the problem and more than half of the problem. And it does it in a pretty progressive way. Now, we still need to look at other things, whether it's raising the retirement age or changing the benefits for everybody or raising some taxes. We still need to look at other stuff, but this would get us a decent share of the way there.
So when you say, and I just want to be clear about this, when you say progressive, the larger somebody's, and what is the net worth? Or does it not matter? If somebody has a net worth of $500,000 and they're getting $100,000, they get cut off. If somebody's worth $50 million and getting $100,000, they get cut off. You don't care about their net worth.
We don't do this based on an asset test because we don't want to discourage people from saving or from working. But it turns out the people that are affected by this plan, especially at first, are folks that have millions and in many cases tens of millions of dollars of assets. So the goal here is not to push people into poverty. It's to take people that really aren't very much relying on the program and saying, we're still going to pay you out $100,000 a year for a couple, but we're not going to pay you $110,000 for a couple or $120,000.
All right, and I had to be clear about that. So is it $50,000 per individual?
The way it works is if you're married, it's $100,000. If you're single, it's $50,000, and then it's adjusted based on your collection age. So we're not going to punish you if you decide to work until 70, for example.
Right, because the longer you wait, the bigger the checks. So if you wait till the very, very end, is it still going to be capped at $100,000?
It's $124,000 if you both wait to the very end. So again, We're not punishing people for working longer. The cap adjusts for those kinds of things.
All right. Any takers? Any takers on Capitol Hill?
There's a lot of interest. Look, here's a little secret. I'll tell your audience. Almost everybody in Washington is a coward. Okay? So there's no
not
one
exactly
that's
a
jumping
secret.
Out there.
Yeah, that's not exactly
There's
a secret,
no
Mark.
one out there that says, I want to be the first one to cut people's benefits and raise their taxes. But we're getting a lot of interest. A lot of folks think this is an intriguing idea. And they understand that even though it's scary, sooner or later we are going to have to address Social Security's insolvency. We only have 6 years, in fact. And a lot of them, I think, are taking significant interest in this option as part of what that package might look like.
6 years to decide. How bad do you think it'll be if they just sit here on their hands like they've done for so many years? I mean, are we going to see 25% benefit reductions? Are we going to see 25% tax increases? What are we going to see?
It's a good question. Look, the law says it's an across-the-board benefit cut, which for a typical couple would be $18,400.
Out of how much?
I worry about the most.
Hold on. I have to start. That couple was earning, or receiving, I shouldn't say earning, receiving how much from Social Security?
Something like $70,000 in 2033. They'll be receiving something like $70,000, and then they'll get a cut by $18,000. This is a couple newly retired in 2033 that earns average earnings for every year of their lifetime. The actual cut will be smaller for current retirees, smaller for low income, but it's going to be larger as a share of their income and how much they count in the program. What I worry about that very much, because that would be horrible 1 year to the next with no warning to have such a big cut. But what I also worry about is that politicians will paper over it by borrowing from the kids. And if you were to fund this all with borrowing over 75 years, which is the window we look at for this program, it'd be $750 trillion, which is about 135% of GDP, more than all the debt we have today, just to fund Social Security. That kind of thing would put us into a fiscal crisis.
Well, the country's already $150 trillion in debt if people told the truth. The $40 trillion top line number you get is only the beginning because of unfunded liabilities like this one, correct?
That's right. So this is sort of realizing those unfunded liabilities, right? Right now, they're not actually liabilities because we can make a choice not to spend them. But if we were to choose to borrow to spend them, those unfunded liabilities would essentially become debt on our books.
It'll bankrupt us. I mean, the fact of the matter is, people call America the wealthiest nation on earth. I disagree. We are the poorest nation on earth because we have so much debt. That's the way I would look at it. We on our balance sheet, we're screwed. Last word to you.
American households and companies are incredibly rich. What we produce is incredibly rich, and our politicians are squandering it on more and more debt.
Every single day. You know, we just played the clip from Bill Maher saying, how do I pay more than 50% in taxes and nothing ever gets better? Gee, Bill, why do you think that is? Because they squander it. Mark, good conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciate it. So what do you think of that? Send me an email, stevegruber.com. What do you think of that idea? Cap it at $100,000, $124,000 if you go to 70, but basically putting a cap on the maximum benefits you can receive from Social Security, depending on, all the factors. Is that fair? Is it not fair? Go to stevegruber.com. Send me an email. I'd love to see it. Maybe I'll ask Ivy about that. She's back after this. All right, let's jump right back into it. Ivy's back in the hot seat again. Ivy, good morning again.
Good morning. I'm in the hot seat, huh?
Well, you know.
What'd I do?
I don't know. I'm just saying. Nothing.
Maybe I will be in the hot seat. So what if I told you that I wanted to sell our house to be able to afford to go attend the World Cup?
I'd ask why you were drinking so early in the day.
Well, a 62-year-old retired teacher is actually doing that. He wants to go to attend all of the games, and he wants to cash out his property valued at about $465,000 to attend all
I'm
games.
sorry. Have you lost touch with reality? I mean, unless he's worth, he could be worth millions, I suppose.
So ticket prices for the World Cup are ranging anywhere from $140 a ticket to $9,000 a ticket.
What would you pay for a World Cup game?
You know, I'm not really that into soccer,
Me
so
either.
it's not really my thing. And I guess that, if you're a big fan of sports, I get people want to go to the Super Bowl, things like that, if you're a big fan. But that's just not, I think I'd rather be floating down a river in Montana or something like that.
Yeah,
fishing.
we'd float the Smith River because
Right.
that's expensive.
Right. Or go to Patagonia and fish the rainforest rivers there, something like that.
Absolutely.
I would rather spend, $9,000 on getting there versus.
I agree. Hey, can we do Patagonia for two? So let's work that out.
Steve, we're going to
after the
sell
show.
our house so we can
not selling
float
the
the
house
rivers
to go
of
fishing.
Patagonia.
I'm not selling the house to go fishing, but $9,000 to go to, on a fishing trip to Patagonia. Count me in. Not one game that I'm not playing in.
Well, he's not going to go to just one game. He wants to go to all
I
the
understand
games.
that. He's at $460,000.
So he would travel across 3 countries, and it's 7 weeks of games. But yeah,
that's crazy.
I think the thing is that the affordability of it, even attending games, has gone just crazy.
Well, that's the thing.
You can't even go to a darn Lions game without it being $300 a ticket. And if you want to go with more than you want to bring your family, well, that's like an investment.
Right. And then you buy a shirt, you buy some food. It's $1,500, couple $1,000.
Yeah, it's a several $1,000 day.
Yeah. Is it worth it? For $2,000, how good of a TV can you buy these days? Huh?
Oh, you can buy a
smoking 80-inch.
80-inch for less than $1,000 probably.
Yeah, and the right sale at Costco. That's right. Good Lord. Okay, that's crazy.
So also, I wanted to play a little bite for you. I think that the No Kings protests over the weekend. This sums it up quite nicely. Go ahead, Anthony.
2 out today.
No King's Day.
And why specifically are you out supporting No King's Day?
I think protest is important.
Why are you protesting?
How much time do you have?
A couple minutes. And what's the main reason you're out here protesting President Trump?
I agree with a lot of the decisions that are being made.
Is there any decision in particular you disagree with?
Okay, so I would start with, well, I don't even think it's appropriate for me to have this interview.
That is my summary of No King's Day right there.
Yeah, there it is. Paid for by Singham.
Because nobody has a good answer.
Right.
And I actually saw a couple other bites. There was a woman that was
same thing.
Just incredibly mad because she thought that there were, death camps in America. And
I
she
saw
was
that
seething
one.
in anger that she's like, we just can't have death camps. I'm like,
Where
are you getting
about?
Your news from?
Right. Donald Trump has set up death camps in Florida. I'm like, what?
Far off as the left-wing media is, they're not saying we have death camps.
No, they're not. All right. I got some good news for you.
Okay, I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah.
We're going to Patagonia.
Well, besides going to Patagonia, which we are going to do. I just don't know when. Project Hail Mary, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard a lot about it,
yeah.
right? We want to go see it, and I'd like to see it this week if we can.
Okay.
It's getting rave reviews as the anti-woke Hollywood blockbuster, being compared to Maverick when Tom Cruise put out that pro-American movie 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, Top Gun.
Yeah. Apparently, this is Ryan Gosling is just killing it in this.
Mm-hmm.
The film has drawn strong audience and critical reaction, earning a 95% critic score, 96% audience score. It also dominated the box office through yesterday $81 million domestically, $141 million worldwide. And so, where's the line that I want here? Again, Hollywood, here's the take from journalist Megan Basham. Again, Hollywood can thrive again. It just has to decide as an industry that it cares more about telling good, entertaining stories than peddling political propaganda.
That's right. No woke and no bad language in the whole film.
That's right.
Which is, great. Can we get back to that?
Yeah.
Like, does
just
everything have
stories.
to have, sex and violence and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Everything. Can we just have a good story?
Yeah, we did.
Good story.
For the first time in a very long time over the weekend, Ivy and I watched some television. And we watched the series Madison, or The Madison, I guess.
That is a very good show.
It is.
There is a lot of bad language in it, but
the story is spectacular.
Is so good. Yeah.
So
highly recommend it.
Won't ruin it for anybody, but look, they're fabulous.
It certainly has a way to make you feel. This series, so
yeah, I thought it was terrific. So anybody who can see the Madison,
make sure you bring your tissues.
Maybe you liked it because there's fly fishing and a lot of it. There we are again. There's a theme here.
It's a love story too, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, love of fly fishing and everything else.
He sure did.
I did not. Do not out me on the program, Ivy. Ivy's in the penalty box, Anthony. From now on, cut her mic.
Listen, it's okay for guys to cry. I think it's a stigma that men shouldn't cry, but I think it's a good thing.
It is a great series. And by the way, the cinematography of the fly fishing, best I've ever seen. It was spectacular.
It makes me long. Actually, I think we're going to go fishing this weekend, Steve. Surprise.
We are?
Yeah. Love you.
Who knew? Love you too. Well, there's good news down the segment. I'm going fishing this weekend. Where? I have no idea, but she'll tell me after the show. Patagonia this weekend. Private jet. Well done, Ivy. I'll be right back. All right, so, you know, if you're going to a gunfight, don't bring a knife, unless you bring a sword, I guess. Law enforcement pulled over a Texas semi-truck driver on the Mackinac Bridge a few days ago. Stopped for speeding. And then it got serious. The stop led to the discovery of 27 illegal weapons, including 5 loaded pistols and a 32-inch sword. In addition, 54-year-old Eric Korosik had an active warrant for his arrest. Gee, he sounds like a nice man. Why would he have an active warrant for his arrest? Beyond the weapons violations, troopers said the driver had 2 open containers of alcohol because 1 is never enough. A subsequent inspection of the truck revealed that Korosik had allegedly falsified his electronic logging device records. He'll be back in court on the 10th of April. He's being held courtesy of the local law enforcement up there. 27 illegal weapons, 5 loaded pistols, 2 bottles of liquor open. Yeah, he hit for the cycle, as they say in baseball. He had it all going on. Anyhow, we'll see where that goes. I guess my last question to you is are you going to watch more basketball this coming weekend? I had a great time watching basketball over the weekend. Don't forget, coming up in just a few minutes, the brand new podcast. Susan Kokinda from Promethean Action. You get a double shot, 2 full podcasts, because we did one with her prior to the war. And then we called her back and said, hey, can you come back, because a lot of updated stuff. So instead of letting any of the good stuff go away, we're giving both to you today. 2 episodes. Part 1, Part 2, Susan Kokinda, Promethean Action. She talks about how the big banks are puppeteers, how it's all interrelated, how the unrest in the Middle East your entire life all leads back to the UK and the British Empire. You have to hear it. Is it conspiracy theory or is it fact? We'll let you decide. Go to YouTube, become a subscriber for free. YouTube for free. A double shot of Susan Kokinda today. Fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America.